Now it works. Okay.
You're on.
We're live. Okay, good. So, welcome everybody to Swiss AI Association Sustainability AI Hackathon, an event which we're organizing together with few of our partners. One is Deep Learning Labs, another is Amazon, third is Toloka, and yes, we are so happy to have you here. Maybe a few words of Swiss AI Association. We've been, let's put it like this, online for 3+ years. We've organized over 20 smaller and bigger events, a few hackathons already. And yes, to this weekend, we'll introduce you with some really hot stuff that's happening in the AI industry, present you some new solutions, and of course, also challenge you to cooperate with us on these new solutions. So let me give you a quick intro of how this event will take place or what will be happening. So today we'll start with this kickoff and short introduction of the challenges. Uh, as you probably know, we already have some nice rewards for the best teams. And for all the participants, Amazon was so kind to grant each participant a $25 voucher for AWS Cloud. And Amazon will also present the new tool to help the developers get into the AI more quickly. Actually, it's a SageMaker Studio Lab, and we will have a short introduction from Dennis from AWS of this tool today. You'll, of course, be able to ask questions, try it out, play with it, and so on. As I understand, it's still a beta version, but as far as I could have tried, it's a fully functioning tool. And today is also the day when we kick off the hackathon challenges, about which I will speak just in a few minutes. And I see a lot of you guys are already forming teams. And yes, I mean, there is no restrictions on how many people are in a team, but I think it's good that maybe 2 to 5 people is optimal from our previous experience. There are really nice awards also for the best teams, which will be judged on Sunday. The judging criteria is also posted on our internet page. If you can't find it, please let me know and I'll post it in the Discord channel. So, as this hackathon is mostly about sustainability, it will be great if you try to address the sustainability topics. We will present you with a few options that you can do, but of course, you're free to choose your own idea and implement it. In addition to that, we have prepared a small data set and put it on the Amazon cloud. And we have also prepared a short Jupyter notebook that loads this data set. And this will maybe help you because you're probably not used to loading the data from the S3 cloud. It will show you how to do it. It's basically pretty easy. And after that, you can play with the data or load your new data. And of course, you don't have to use the uh, suggested data set. You can play around as much as you want. And then tomorrow, Saturday, we will start in the morning, Central European time at 9:30, with a few really interesting and hot lectures. And the first one will be from Professor Gerard, and he will talk about natural language understanding tasks. So one of the hottest topics in AI. And I think he will especially talk about name entity recognition tasks, which is on one hand easy to understand, but on the other hand, quite difficult to implement correctly. Then our friend Denise from AWS will again give us a short overview of how AWS is doing sustainability and maybe how it's also connected with their AI and all the cloud offerings they're doing. Uh, After that, we have an interesting partner who is doing a lot in the data management space. So data is one of the key inputs for every successful AI model. And to do it correctly and to do it on an unbiased way is, of course, really important. So Evgenia will have a really interesting presentation about how to build your data sets correctly and improve your models with that quite a lot. And then our partner Deep Learning Labs, which we're doing this hackathon with, will have two really interesting sessions. One will be the introduction of the famous GPT-3 model, and of course also some. So this is a text language model for human interaction. Let's put it this way, simplified. And I think then at the end we hope to see today. I think number one hottest thing in the AI industry. This is the Dell E2. So for those who haven't heard about this is GPT-3 for images, or an image generator, which also comes from OpenAI, still with very limited access. But yes, Deep Learning Labs managed to get a really good connection with OpenAI, and they will be presenting also what Dell E2 can do today. So yeah, this will be the Saturday. And during the whole day on Saturday, of course, the Hackathon Challenge will be going on. We have set up a few times where you teams who are doing the Hackathon Challenge can get special support from our mentors, from technical experts, from subject matter experts, and ask questions. So this will be at 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 7 o'clock in the evening. Of course, there will be somebody on the Discord channel probably all the time, so you can ask questions even during that. But we can assure that some of the experts at least will be present at these hours for 1 hour. So from 10 to 11, from 3 to 4, and from 7 to 8. The hackathon will then end on Sunday at 6 o'clock, where by this time the teams should hand in their uh, final tasks, and each team will then have a chance to present their solution for 10 minutes. I would suggest that if you're taking care in the challenge, that you maybe present 1 or 2 pages of PowerPoint or whichever tool you're using, and tell us what you're doing, tell us what were your challenges, tell us what you did, describe the solution, and if possible, also show us the solution that you did. That would be great. Then the jury will look at what you prepared, and the best teams, as I said, will get really nice rewards, which are being presented by AWS. Again, if you want to know what we will be judging, the criteria is posted on Swiss AI Association webpage. If you can't find it, please let us know. We'll post the link. And this will be the end of the hackathon. So now, as next, let's go a bit to the proposed challenges that we try to describe for you. So we try to go into the three different areas: ethical AI and decision making, sustainable investing, and then cybersecurity in fintech. I will start with describing what we think you can do in the sustainable investing challenge. So, as you know, Switzerland is a major hub for finance, probably the biggest one in the world. And one of the key one of the key ideas in the sustainable finance is to ask or to check if the companies which are, let's say, being invested in or are on the stock market are environmentally sustainability. Are they looking into environmental issues? Are they trying to be sustainable? Are they trying to be carbon neutral? Are they do they have, for instance, right governance structures to follow these methodologies? So there are quite a lot of there is quite a big need, I would say, in financial world for these kind of solutions. And yeah, if your AI model can maybe help companies become more ESG or environmentally sustainable or have better governance, that would be one of the challenges for you. Also, the data set we have posted in GitHub uh, has a data set that deals with exactly what I explained before: named entity recognition and environmental, sustainable, and governance practices. So this is the first challenge, and for the other two challenges, I would like to hand over to our expert, Aren, who is a PhD student at ETH, and Aren will talk about the other two challenges. Aren, the stage is yours.
Hello, hi everyone. Thanks, Rock, and welcome to the AI Sustainable AI Hackathon. So, hope you can all hear me well. So, Rock already mentioned one of the topics we suggest you can work on. I will talk about the ethical AI and decision making. We suggest two uh, areas that you can work on. You can concentrate, but of course, you are not. You are free to choose your own ideas as well. So one of these in this aspect is developing methods that will predict the energy consumptions of buildings or cities in general. So we know that we have the power grids that distribute energy and distribute electricity throughout the city, and sometimes and we have to predict how much electricity we produce uh, so that we don't have an overcharge or we don't produce more than is required or less than is required. And for this, a good prediction model of the consumption is needed. And that's why maybe we thought AI can be of help here to predict the energy consumption of buildings or cities in general. And you can use data sets of how much this or that city has used, so for how much electricity or energy this or that city has used, and then predict the future. Another example is developing algorithms for optimal positioning of first aid responders in the area of past disasters. So, given a data set of disasters that happened in a certain state or area, so fires or floods, etc., you have to predict and you have to create a model that will predict where to put the limited personnel for the next month or the next year, so that when the next flood or the next disaster happens, the responders are there to help. So given limited resources, how to allocate them optimally so that they reach these areas and save as many lives as possible. And again, AI can be a useful tool here to do this prediction, and then we can generate a test setting and see how how quickly uh, the responders were there. Another example of cybersecurity in the area of cybersecurity is the more or less famous already problem of deepfake detection. Given the rising number of online platforms that require users to self-authenticate themselves using selfies or using videos to increase their security. Now we have a problem that with these new technologies, again provided by AI, we have people using deepfake algorithms to create fake images and then use these to authenticate themselves. And if we have an algorithm that counteracts this, that can detect which images have been altered, which images are artificially created, then this problem can be mitigated. So given a data set of a mix of fake and real images, can you detect the real ones in the test data set? Can your algorithm detect these ones? These were the topics that we had in mind. But of course, as Rock said, again, feel free to come up with novel or the new problems that you think are interesting. And after today's talks, hopefully you will be inspired to come up with new ones. Yeah, that's all. I'll let Rock continue. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks for that, Aaron. So I would, before we move with AWS, I would like to introduce another co-founder of Swiss AI Association, Sergei Adilpeko. And Sergei also has an interesting guest he will introduce, and he will give a short idea about sustainability. Sergei, please.
Perfect. Thank you, Rock. Good evening and good day, everybody. Everybody's in a different time zone, I guess. So my name is Sergei. I'm also a co-founder, together with Rock, of the Swiss AI Association. A daily job banker, doing a lot of fintech stuff within the financing industry. But today, because we're talking about sustainable AI, I'd like to introduce a colleague, a partner, who I've been talking to for some time now. His name is Nosa Omoigui. He's based in Seattle. Nosa is a CEO and founder of a company called Weave AI. Clearly, Nosa has a lot of experience in AI and machine learning. He was at Microsoft for around 3 years as a research program manager and development lead. Then he proceeded to found and be a CEO of another company called Nirvana. And he was also, for a couple of years, as a senior manager in machine learning and personalization at Amazon, also based in Seattle. So I've asked Nosa to give an introduction, just a very quick one, about the sustainable AI. What does it mean, sustainable AI? Because Nosa's main company is focusing on sustainability and ESG, specifically using the artificial intelligence technology. So Nosa, the word is yours, please.
Great. Thank you so much, Sigali, and nice to meet everyone. So I'll make this very brief. So I'll make the distinction between sort of sustainable AI and AI for sustainability. I'll explain the differences very shortly here. Sustainable AI essentially is how do we sort of train sophisticated, AI models across a variety of different tasks, whether it's computer vision, whether it's predictive analytics, whether it's natural language processing, but do so in a way that uses a minimal amount of data, a minimum amount of compute, which directly impact carbon emissions. If you look at some of the latest models, whether it's GPT-3 or DALL-E, these are just such ginormous models, at least on the natural language side. And some of the new HPC AI models that are coming out use a tremendous amount of energy. And so the challenge becomes, how do we design new systems, new model representations, I think fundamentally, that don't require as much training data, don't require as much compute. Of course, on the same vector, how do we invest in systems that in more low power chips and chip architectures, that where we continue to bring that curve down in terms of the trade-off between power and efficiency. So I would say that those are, and we need like new breakthroughs. I think, especially when it comes to representation of these models, the underlying representations, and the fact that we still need to train these systems on ginormous amounts of data. It's a very interesting research area, which has a lot of implications for our planet, obviously. On the other side, there's what I call AI for sustainability, which is how do we use AI systems to sort of turbocharge or accelerate the movement towards sustainability. And that's what I'm focused on, what my company is focused on, which is everything from helping companies benchmark each other to know where they need to improve. So if you're a large oil company, oftentimes you don't even know necessarily what ESG issues you need to be focused on. What is everybody doing in the oil sector? What should you be doing? The challenge there is that you don't have any standards. There's still no ESG standards. A lot of the disclosures are in reports. They're in like 500-page reports. So you have each company having these mountains of disclosures. You multiply that by an entire industry, by an entire sector. It's just impossible to analyze, right? Because you're not talking about spreadsheets or structured data. It's just textual information in a 500-page report. It's a big, big problem. And it's not going to go away anytime soon because you're still not going to have any standards for a while that cover all the different nuances of ESG. So how do you help companies benchmark themselves relative to their peer group? How do they discover what issues are most material automatically? And how do they determine what is most material in terms of what their peers are doing? I'm sure you've heard about the term greenwashing. So AI, to me, is the only way to efficiently manage greenwashing detection. How do you detect greenwashing? How do you mitigate greenwashing? How do you know that out of a 500-page report a company produced, what parts of it are material? Where's the meat? What part of it is just fluff and just marketing and just spin? What part of it is material? That's an AI problem, in my opinion, and that's what we're focused on. And by 2025, a third of all global assets, over $50 trillion, are going to be invested in ESG assets. That's a lot of money. And if that entire amount of capital is resting on a very, very shaky foundation of data, it's not going to be good in any way you can imagine. Right? So how do we automate benchmarking using AI and then also help the financial institutions that are making these investments understand where they should put their money, help them be more compliant with new regulations that are coming in, and do that in a way that scales, even though you're dealing with data that is unstructured, like I said, in 500-page reports. And the challenge is even getting more severe because, just in the last year, the EU has passed new regulations around ESG and supply chains. And now companies are going to have to be on the hook for managing what's across their supply chains. So now you're not just trying to analyze data in a specific industry. You might be looking at, Walmart here in the US has over 100,000 suppliers. Boeing has maybe like 40,000 suppliers. How do you ask, these companies to analyze all their suppliers, all the suppliers' disclosures, know what is material, where the risks are, which suppliers they should go focus on in terms of risk mitigation to become more compliant? It's just impossible to manage. And like I said, you're dealing with 500-page PDFs. So that's the sort of AI for sustainability movement, as distinct from the sustainable AI movement. But both are equally as critical, as we try and drive to a more sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nelson. Really appreciate it. your experience, and I hope this inspires a bunch of our hackers today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow to do something new. So, Rock, over back to you.
Sure, thank you to both Nosa. That was really impressive. So as Sergey said, there were some hints for our hackers, so hopefully they can find something interesting. So let's see what's ahead of us. So we have two more things for today. First, we will have Dennis from AWS presenting a little bit about Amazon SageMaker Studio Lab, which is a new tool from Amazon. And secondly, we will have our co-organizer Kuba give you a few hints on how the hackathon will go on, how to ask questions, how to manage the Discord channels, and so on. But first, yes, it's really my pleasure to present Denis Avtonin, who is a senior data architect focused especially on sustainability in AWS, to tell us about this sexy new tool that Amazon is bringing into the market. Denis, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Rob. Good evening, good time of the day, everyone. Welcome to Hackathon. As Rob said, I'm going to talk about AWS SageMaker Studio Lab toolset, which you can use during the hackathon. I'm going to share my screen and present a few slides and then do a very quick demo. Let me see. Screens. Go. Okay, can someone confirm that you can see my screen? Ideally,
yes, it's good.
Okay.
It's good. We can watch.
Okay, so as I said, this presentation is about SageMaker Studio Lab, and I'm Denis Avdonin. I work as a data analytics consultant with AWS Professional Services, where we build solutions for customers, specifically in sustainability specialty practice, where we build solutions which help customers to address their sustainability objectives. I'm going to talk quickly about motivation, why Studio Lab was created, and explain what you get through this tool and what you can do with it, and then do a quick demo. So our vision at AWS is to enable everyone who wants to do machine learning at the level kind of their skills and ability and experience. And this includes developers, hardcore data scientists, but also business users. And if you look at any statistics around demand for data scientists and data professionals in general today, you will see literally hundreds of thousands of openings in any geography of the world. So for those among you seasoned data scientists, there's a great choice of work. For those of you who are just starting in this field, this is a very hot area to be. Not only it is interesting, but it's also in high demand, so you have a great choice of projects to work on. And these days, people learn about data science in a very different way to how I studied, for example, applied mathematics and computer science many, many years ago. Today, there is abundance of online resources with different courses, large communities of people who collaborate and work on topics together and learn from each other through that. And there are great tools available as open source and for free as well. So the barrier of entry is extremely low. And it's really only constrained by the time you have to invest into learning and experimenting and doing things. And one of the aspects of learning and experimenting is that you need tools for that. And Jupyter Lab is one of such tools. It's an open source project. AWS is an active contributor in this tool. And what we did at the end of last year, or at least it was announced at reInvent about 7 months ago, we introduced SageMaker Studio Lab. It's generally available across all regions now, so it's kind of fully rolled out in production, and it's free for everyone. So basically, what it is, it's essentially a managed Jupyter Lab environment, if you're familiar with it. It's absolutely free. All you need to register is your email address. AWS in general has a free tier, so you can open an AWS account and use quite a lot of resources for free. But you have to provide a credit card when you do that, and many people feel a little apprehended about it because they don't want to get unexpected charges. So when we designed Studio Lab, we want to make sure that this barrier is not there. So it's absolutely free. You don't need to provide anything but your email address. And what you get is a compute instance, either with a CPU or a GPU. And you decide when you start a session and want to work on a project, which instance to use. And you can also switch between them if you need to. For example, if you're doing data exploration, you probably don't need very powerful compute capabilities, so you can use a CPU instance. And then if later you need to train a deep learning model, then you may switch to a GPU instance and use that for training. Both of them are reasonably sized machines, so they both come with 4-core CPUs and with 16 gigabytes of memory. And CPU is a so-called burstable instance, which means that while you're not using it, you accumulate CPU credits, and then if you need to perform a compute-intensive task, it automatically will bump your CPU performance using those accumulated credits. It's kind of the latest in CPU technologies in the cloud. So you get kind of the best of both worlds. On one hand, it's low cost, but on the other hand, you get performance when you need it. But again, in the context of Studio Lab, it's completely free from your point of view. You also get 15 gigabytes of storage, so you can store your notebooks, your data sets, other artifacts which you're creating as part of the project. And all of these files will be automatically saved. So when you finish working on a project and go away and then come back, you start where you left off, and you don't need to do anything for it. It happens automatically by the magic of Studio Lab in the background. This environment is integrated with Git, so you can collaborate if you're working within a team. Each of you can start its own Studio Lab and work on the same repository in Git. And it's also integrated with GitHub, so you can collaborate there and also interact with the rest of the community. And you get terminal access in case you want to do something directly on the machine rather than through the notebook. How does it compare to other options? Very often when people start learning and experimenting with machine learning, they use their own laptops or desktops. And while this is convenient because you always have it with you and you don't even need the internet connection, the disadvantage is that you need to manage it yourself. You have to configure the environment, you have to install all software on it and make sure that it all works together, and it gets complicated very quickly. So you have to learn quite a lot before you can start actually working with data and machine learning. Very often, you may not have a very powerful machine. You may have only 4 gigabytes of memory or 8 gigabytes of memory available, and that limits to what you can do in terms of data. And then once you develop it, and if you work on towards kind of a production-ready application, then it becomes a difficult task to migrate it. There are other similar offerings out there, and when we were building Studio Lab, we listened to feedback from customers on those platforms, and one of the common things was that the data which people use and artifacts which they create during projects is not saved automatically. So if you want to continue next day, you have to remember that you need to save everything or put it into a code repository or somewhere on a shared infrastructure. We took away this hurdle because Studio Lab does this work for you, and you don't need to think and remember about that. So that's one of big advantages here as well. So again, how does it work? First of all, you need to register. So you go to studiolab.sagemaker.aws, and you will get an account using your email address. I'll show in a minute kind of in more detail how you do this. And then once you register, you log in, and you can start a compute session with up to 12 hours CPU or up to 4 hours GPU. And the reason we limit it is that we want to make sure that people don't hog those resources, and it can be reused across the different users. If you're working for 12 hours straight and you want to continue like you may want to do in the next 2 days, then you just start another session immediately. So the number of sessions is not limited. You just can't run more than one at a time. And the same with GPU. If you're running training and or if you're kind of exploring and experimenting and you run out of your 4 hours allocated for the session, you just start a new one and continue. If you run a training job which goes beyond these limits, Studio Lab is not going to stop it. It will let it finish, and then when you start a new session, you will see your training results there. So even if you go beyond these hours, your UI session will end, but if you run anything in the background in terms of training, it will continue. So you can edit notebooks there. You can access Git and GitHub, as I mentioned earlier, and then snapshots are taken automatically, so you don't need to worry about saving your work. And then if you're working towards a production ready, there is a kind of defined path how you can take this work done in Studio Lab and move into kind of full-fledged SageMaker environment to continue with it. Okay, so first of all, how do you register? Again, you go to studiolab.sagemaker.aws. You will see a screen like this, and on the top right corner, there will be a request account button, which will open another screen where you enter your email address. You can enter your name, select country, and provide some additional details, but you don't have to. The only field which you have to populate is your email address. And you submit request. Normally, you wait after that to get your request approved. But for the purpose of Hackathon, everyone who registered up until about 6 p.m. yesterday have been pre-approved. So you should get a response email more or less immediately or within a few minutes. Then once you register and log in into this environment, you will see a screen like here on the right-hand side. And here at the top, you see status of your session. Initially, it will have status idle, and you need to click a button to start your session. You select whether you want to use a CPU or GPU instance. For most work we should do, CPU is more than sufficient. GPU is only needed if you're training some deep learning models or very compute-intensive applications. So for the purpose of Hackathon, I would advise you to use CPU unless you really need to use GPU. And then you click Open Project and you go into the environment. Also on this page, you will see there are some resources which you can explore. There is, for example, linked to AWS Machine Learning University, where you can learn about machine learning and different use cases with sample notebooks. There is also machine learning blog, great source of information, very practical advice on how to do different things on AWS. So I recommend for you to explore that as well. AWS, since a couple of years, is collaborating with Hugging Face. It's actually integrated into AWS toolset now, so there's some resources about that. So just look around, see there's a lot of useful information there which can help you get started or learn something new. So then once you log in, you will see Jupyter Lab environment, and for those of you who have already seen it, it should look familiar. If you haven't used it, I'm going to show it in a minute and explain what is where. Okay, so let's move into demo and then come back to the slides for a quick wrap up. Okay, so first of all, again, studiolab.sagemaker.aws. I hope you have remembered this address by now. You go click request account, enter your email address, additional details if you want, click submit request, and then you should get an email with instructions what to do next. After you registered, you will sign in. And for me, because I signed in previously, you can see it automatically logs me in. The first time you will need to specify username and password, and you can decide if you want to be remembered or not, or if you want to enter password every time. And then you see a page where you can select whether you want CPU or GPU instance, and you start your runtime. And at this point, you are assigned a compute instance, so it takes a little bit. While we're waiting, again, you can see there are resources which I just shown you on the last slide. You can use GitHub and Stack Overflow to ask questions. There are special tags for SageMaker Studio Lab, which you can tag your questions with, and people will respond to that. Okay, so you see I have been assigned the compute instance now, and I click Open Project, which brings me into Studio Lab environment. Okay, so here on the left-hand side, you can see this is kind of a file system where you can store your notebooks, data sets, any other artifacts which you need for your project. And you can create new folders, if you will, and organize it as any other file system. On the right-hand side, you will see Launcher. Here you can open a new notebook or console or terminal, depending on what you want to do, but most of the time you will start a new notebook when you start a new project. By default, Studio Lab comes with very few Python packages pre-installed, and the default kernel or the default environment which you will use is more or less empty. So when you start a project, you will need to install your own packages, which you require for your project. If you're going to work on it for a while, and especially if you're going to share it with other people and collaborate, it's advisable to create an environment file which describes what packages you need, so it can be created automatically. So for example, you can see that I have default Python environment and also CV Python environment, which stands for computer vision, which was created based on one of the examples provided by Studio Lab team. And I'll show it to you in a few minutes. So if you want to connect with Git, so for example, if you already have a repository which you want to bring into this environment, you can either click Git clone here and provide URL to your Git repository, or you can go to left-hand side, again, Git, clone repository, and it brings you to the same place. And here, when you specify which repository you want to clone, you can also specify whether you want to build Conda environment from this. So what I mentioned earlier, if as part of your repository, you already described all the packages which you need, when you cloning it into Studio Lab, you can automatically build this environment. So all these packages are available for you. So let's take a look at a couple of notebooks. First of all, I want to demonstrate how to access a data set in S3. So we have a lot of data hosted on S3 by different organizations. And I'm going to talk tomorrow in my presentation about Amazon Sustainability Initiative, data initiative, where there are really large data sets of, for example, satellite imagery or weather data and things of that nature, which otherwise would be very difficult to access, but we work with organizations to make them publicly available, and they absolutely they can be accessed by anyone quite easily, absolutely free. So in this notebook, I'll show you how to read data directly from S3. And as I mentioned, first of all, you need to install required packages. So specifically for access to S3, you need to install Boto3, FSSpec, and S3FS. And this is what I did here. You can see all these packages being installed, including dependencies. And then I also installed Pandas, which is a package for working with data. So if you've done any work already, you should be familiar with it. And the data set which I'm using here is one of data sets on Open Data Repository or Registry, again provided by AWS. It contains information about legal entities by organization called GLAIF. It's a Global Legal Entity Identifier Foundation. So they collect open data about companies around the world. They standardize it, clean it, and publish it again as an open data set. They put it in different locations, but one of them is this bucket on S3 in AWS. So what you can do is you can access this data directly. And as you can see, it's very easy using Pandas read CSV, because this data is stored as CSV file. You can just reference it where it's stored and load it into a data frame. And then you can start working with this data frame in the notebook environment. One comment I would like to make is that every data provider organizes data in a different way. So they may have different directory structure, and you may want to explore it. If you access data on registry of open data on AWS, you will have a command which you can use to kind of release directory on S3 and see what data is available there. And to do this, you open a terminal. So you start a new terminal. You paste the command, and you can see, okay, in this S3 bucket, there is a folder called data. So then you can go to data and see what's there. Looks like they storing it as CSV, so you can look at that. And kind of navigating this directory structure, you can find data which you want. But usually data providers have documentation available, so instead of just exploring it, you can also read documentation and find more information about how data is structured. So this is one example. Another example is if you want to use your own data, you may want, and the data set kind of within this 15 gigabyte limit, you can upload it directly into SageMaker Studio Lab and work with it here. To give you an example, I wanted to see where cupcake shops are in New York. And for that, I needed a map of New York, and I also needed information about locations of the cupcake shops. And I got this data again from, it's open source. I got the map from New York authorities. They publish it as part of their open data initiative. And I got cupcake shops from Foursquare, which is actually hosted on AWS Data Exchange, which is another service for sharing data. And I'm going to talk more about it tomorrow. But from that Foursquare data set, you see I created a CSV file with cupcake shops and their locations. And it's a relatively small data set, so I uploaded it here. And for the map, again, I just took the shape file, which describes this map, and uploaded it here. And uploading is extremely easy. You see, I have this file stored in my file system when I downloaded them from New York Open Data website, and then you can just drag and drop them and upload to Studio Lab. Or if you prefer to find these files directly from Studio Lab, you can press Upload Files button here. It opens a dialog, kind of your standard operating system explorer, and you can go ahead and find your files and upload them this way. So, and then again, for this use case, or for this example, I installed a couple of packages for Python. I imported them, and then I'm reading my cupcakes location file, which is here in CSV, and you consider names and latitude and longitude. And for map, I'm reading the shape file, which is stored in the subdirectory here. You can see this data is geometrically organized, so New York is described effectively as a set of polygons. And then using GeoPandas package, I can combine these data sets and visualize them on a nice map like this. So you could see this is New York State, and here's cupcake shops, and it looks like they concentrated in Manhattan. Not sure why people in other boroughs don't get any cupcakes. But this is what was in the Foursquare sample data set. And finally, in terms of demo, what I want to show is Studio Lab provides a Git repository with examples. Maybe let me get a link from the presentation. So if you go to GitHub/AWS/Studio Lab examples, this is the repository. And the way to clone it is you go into code, you get URL for the repository, and then in your Studio Lab environment, okay, let me close this. You click the button, specify the URL, and click clone button, and it will copy it. I already did it, so you can see I have this folder here, Studio Lab examples, which you can go into and get a copy of this repository. So here, for example, there is a model trained for image recognition using KMNIST dataset. And here they provided environment YAML file with all packages listed which are required for this particular model. So if I open it, you can see it's a simple configuration file. It says the name of this environment is CV, and dependencies lists the packages which I needed. So and also specifies that it should use Python version 3.9 and packages which are used. They're using Torch so for this model. So this is why they specify in these packages here. And the nice thing about Studio Lab is that you can right-click it and say build Conda environment. And what you get is this kind of additional kernel, which you can use with all these packages pre-installed. And if you open the notebook as an example, you'll see it's quite involved. I'm not going to go through it in detail. In the interest of time, you can take a look afterwards. But it shows how you can train an image recognition model using Torch, for example. So you set up your data sets, you set up your training and validation routines, and then you actually run the train, and you can assess performance of your model. So if you're looking for examples how to get started with this kind of problems, I would recommend looking at examples provided as part of Studio Lab repository, and maybe you will find some inspiration there. Right. So this is it. If you want to learn more about Studio Lab, there is an overview which was recorded at reInvent last year. They go into a little bit more detail than I covered here. So you can go on YouTube and search for Introducing Amazon SageMaker Studio Lab, and it's on AWS Events channel. And also the repository which I just shown on GitHub. And here's a link for you to find it. Thank you very much. I hope this was useful. If you have any questions, please post them in I Need Help channel on Discord, and I will try to answer them for you. Thank you. Back to you, Rock.
Yes, great. Thank you very much, Denis. So I hope you also got some assistance or some ideas what you can do in your teams. Now for today, we only have one more thing. Maybe if you have some questions about the Discord, I know for some of you it may be a new environment. We have an expert here, so Kuba will be here giving a short overview. And of course, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, there will be teams here to help you with anything you wish to, with anything that you're struggling. So, Kuba, if you're ready, I would hand over to you.
Yes, I'm
to
ready.
tell us technically. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so first I will show how the platform works. So first, you need to find the event on our platform if you want to participate, and you have to press attend. After that, on the top right corner, this is you can see this icon. You need to press it, and now you're in event dashboard. You're in your dashboard, like profile dashboard. After you do that, go in the bottom left corner to your profile and edit it. You can fill out all your information here, where you work, what is your role, in what country you live.
Sorry, Kuba, are you presenting something? Or
You can't see that, but people on Twitch see that.
sorry.
You can fill out your bio. What's very important, you should add your Discord a nickname, so it will be easier for everyone to find you there, because Discord is our main communication source. You can also add your GitHub, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you want to make your profile pretty, you can add image link and cover photo link. So, and then you press save. And if you go back to your profile, you can see how it looks for other people. Then, if you did that, when you did that, go to events, press Sustainable AI Hackathon, and now you're in the event dashboard. Here are the teams that are already created. So if you don't have a team yet because you didn't create it and didn't join, you can join an existing one. So for example, I can see 2 teams that are looking for team members. You can press on one of the teams and join the team. That's how I joined the team. And so I don't want to be in this team. I can just leave the team. And now I'm not on the team. But if you want to create a new team, you can do that also by pressing this button and fill out the information. So this is the team name. This is short description. And this is the link for Discord channels. So we have prepared some Discord channels for you in Deep Learning Labs server in team room sections. So you can see team 1 to team 10. And when your team chooses one of these channels, you can create an invite for this server. I copied it just. Okay, and now I can just paste the link here. And when you create the team, and one more thing, if you want people to join your team, leave the looking for team members open. And now I create a team. I need to go back to Sustainable AI Hackathon. And now I can press Show My Team button. That's how it looks like. This is the team dashboard. In the settings, I can edit all the information. So this is the name, this is the description, this is the cover image link, this is communication channel link. Here I can toggle if I want to look for members or not. And here, this feature doesn't work yet, but we're working on it. So for the next hackathons, we'll have it. Mentors will have the dashboard with the list of teams that will need help. But for now, use Discord channel if you will need mentors help. Use I need help channel and ask for mentoring session. What else you can see? This is the time left you have for to finish your project. Here you can submit your project. So when you're ready to submit, fill in all the information and press submit. And after that, your submission will be visible here and everyone will be able to see it. You can also add teammates by copying this URL and sending it to them, or pressing invite. And if you do it, these people will get a notification to their email. So press this button when you know that you want this person to join. And if you don't want to be visible in this list, you need to either join a team or create a new team. Okay, for the platform, that's it. One more important thing. This is the knowledge base we prepared for the hackathon. So you should see here the most important information connected to the event. For example, you can access the schedule here. And in the schedule, you can see when we'll be live streaming. So these sessions will be live streamed. And here are the time frames where you can ask mentors for help. So make sure you read this knowledge base carefully, thoroughly. The link is posted in Sustainable AI Hackathon channel that is on the bottom of all channels here. So all the communication connected to this event will happen in this channel. You can also ask questions in FAQ if the questions are connected to the event or to Discord or to the platform. Just ask questions here. If you still don't have a team and want to find someone before just inviting them on the platform, you can post your announcement here. So in the knowledge base, you can also like get started guide. I posted some videos how to do basic stuff on the platform. Here is the guide how to use Discord in general, how to cooperate with your team. This is the link to GitHub repo that Rock posted before. Here are the judgment criteria. Here are the guidelines how to present on Sunday. Prizes, some FAQ, and about organizations that organize this event. Yep, and that's it from me. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please write on Discord, on these channels that I said that you can write, or direct message me. I'm my nickname is Kuba Deep Learning Labs. Okay, that's everything now.
Great. So thank you, Kuba. And this brings us slowly to the end of the official part. So for sure, mentors and technical support for any of the teams will be online at least for another half an hour today. And tomorrow we're starting with the presentations at 9:30. I invite everybody, also those who are participating in the hacking challenges, to join them. Maybe you get some other interesting ideas and there is still plenty of time to do it. Or yeah, even invite your friends or colleagues to join even the presentation sessions. That would be great. And as I mentioned, there will be a dedicated support at special hours, which can be found on our website. That means 10, 3 o'clock, and 7 o'clock CET. And of course, also on Sunday, there will be a dedicated support for teams at 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And then on Sunday at 6 p.m., the team presentations will start. So any other questions, please post in one of the groups in the channel. And yes,
I can ask one
hacking.
question. What is the difference between mentor support and dedicated support in those hours?
I mean, basically, we will be providing both, right? So there will be some people from Swiss AI Association who can maybe help technically a bit more, and also from Amazon if needed. And yeah, there is some organizational stuff that maybe you guys, Deep Learning Labs, can help with, right?
Okay, thank you.
So all kinds of questions are open, are welcome, yeah. So yes, that's basically it. I think we can finish our live session. Thanks to all who participated, and yeah, hope to see all of you tomorrow. Take care and good hackathon.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you tomorrow.